We recently generated an 8.3x return on ad spend from running a YouTube seller campaign, and this is how your team and brokerage can do the same. Quick story time to begin. Karen is a consistent producer for 9 years in Northwest Tucson. As with many brokerages, teams, agents, she had tried multiple lead gen platforms, programs. None of them delivered real buyers or sellers. She kept getting a bunch of tire kickers, unqualified, unresponsive, not serious. Obviously we speak to many teams and brokerages and agents, and we hear this all the time, right? People getting burned. They spent a bunch of money. It didn't go anywhere. There were no real conversations, no real serious leads. It's a common problem. And what makes it even more frustrating is that it typically isn't actually, if you're the team owner or brokerage watching this who has been burned before, it's typically not your fault, right? It's really, you know how to convert leads, you know how to take appointment well, you know how to sign a listing agreement and get it sold. It's typically that you just don't have the right opportunities that you're speaking to, the right people in your pipeline from those ad campaigns, because those people are so far away from their decision-making process. Maybe they're not even homeowners in the seller case. They're not pre-approved for a mortgage, for example. They're very, very early on the buying stage process, and they're not even thinking about it. When only speaking with those kinds of people, it can become really, really frustrating. And as with Karen, right, she nearly walked away from online marketing almost entirely, right? Online leads are the worst. They don't convert, waste my money, all that stuff. And I hear it a lot, right? If I had $1 for every team, brokerage, top agent who's been burned by a marketing agency, then I would be rich just on that. But what ended up happening though was that she ended up signing a downsizer in her area within just 22 days and just about $1,800 in ad spend. That's going to lead her a $15,000 check in GCI. As you can see, boss Greg just texted me they're hiring. So excited. Thank you so much. Yippee. Huge news. Obviously, I was super excited for her. And this is just obviously the power of having an end-to-end system. Now, of course, how do we get to that point? Well, this video is going to kind of break that down, give you a really good idea of what that all is. So first step, this is the step that, of course, again, not many marketers, agents, and brokerages even think about, which is picking the right market and niche to run a targeted YouTube ads campaign. A large portion of success, and I made a previous video about this, when running a YouTube seller campaign is picking the right market and niche to target. So this is just a screen grab of some market stats in the area for North Tucson using Claude. And this is actually based on the framework that I provided in a previous video, talking about how we qualify an area and make sure that it's actually viable to run a YouTube ads campaign for sellers in this case. I'll let you take a look at the numbers, but really the big theme here was that downsizers comprise of a large and growing portion of the market. This created an amazing opportunity to capture the silver tsunami, right? Ferry speaks about this, and attract sellers who are longtime homeowners, right? Not the ones who bought 2 years ago wanting a quick unrealistic flip for super high price. Realistic expectations on pricing. The kinds of people, the kinds of homeowners who are even willing to take a haircut on price just because they know the market has maybe shifted in their area and they have a ton of equity anyways, so their return is going to be massive regardless. And finally, the people who are actively searching for things related to selling their home, for example, seeking more info about downsizing, finding a realtor, things like that. So with days on market and volume being in a pretty healthy seller range, it makes sense, and this is just an insight that we found, it makes sense to run an offer that would create opportunities further in their decision-making process, meaning that they are they've already made a decision that they want to sell. They're just actively searching for help. So in this case, with the kind of market that we were in, it made sense to run a more direct offer to a home evaluation because, again, it was a very healthy seller market and people were actually actively looking to find a realtor to work with and get ready for a sale. Versus this works in more markets with a higher days on market, for example. This is, again, if you want to build out a long-term pipeline, which, again, is a very smart strategy. Things like ebooks, guides, webinars, more resource-based things. Of course, we're always adding value, but more of the the ebooks and tangible assets. This is more quote unquote top of the funnel in marketing terms, which basically means that they're a bit less further along in their decision making process. They're still actively searching for things, but not as much as the people in this kind of range right here. So with the right market, with the right niche picked, it's time to craft a campaign and create specific messaging to sellers and senior homeowners in the market. And that led us to step 2. We scripted and produced highly engaging YouTube ads to generate traffic. Now, at this point, we split tested YouTube ad scripts on over $200,000 of spend across 30 plus markets. I believe I actually have a video about this, but we're going to be making more videos about running YouTube ad scripting because it is so important. Here are the key principles when scripting out highly converting YouTube ads that you should know. This is a really important one. The hook is the 80-20. Put most of your time and attention into these things. The hook, again, is the first 5 to 10 seconds intro of the ad. This is what people are going to basically make a decision on whether or not they want to keep watching or skipping it. It is highly, highly important, and you want to make sure you put so much of your eggs in this basket because it's the difference between getting consistent listing appointments and listing signed and getting absolutely nothing from a campaign. Super important. Quick note on that. This is just some insights on the data that we have, which is very useful. We found success with using timing-based hooks in markets with higher days on market and money-based hooks in markets with lower days on market. For example, what do I mean by this? A timing-based hook is most North Tucson homeowners do this wrong, leaving their home stuck sitting for months. That's a timing-based hook. That would work well in a higher days on market area versus most North Tucson homeowners do this wrong, leaving tens of thousands on the table. That's a really good one for lower days on market. Because think about it. If an area has a very quick turnaround time, for example, it's a 30-day days on market, this timing hook probably wouldn't resonate very well. Leaving their home stuck on the market for months, well, the average home is actually selling within 30 days or less. This one would make more sense, leaving tens of thousands on the table, because likely, and this isn't always the case, but a lot of times in markets that are super fast, they're getting multiple offers. And so a lot of sellers potentially could take on the first offer that they get and not knowing that they could receive way more if they waited it out or negotiated or did something different. So those little nuances make a huge difference. And again, this is just based on the data that we've really seen. You want to script and produce multiple variations. So even the best ads will eventually fatigue over time. So you want to think like an investor. You want to diversify your portfolio of ad spend across multiple different scripting and multiple different frameworks for it. Now, it's only really wise to put all your eggs into just one or just a few baskets of ads if and only if you have enough data to reliably understand which will perform the best and why. And again, that goes down to looking at market dynamics and how the market has been shifting versus how you're communicating to them and what you're offering to them. And lastly, just as a very tangible framework, use the problem solution call to action framework that I talked about in a previous video. Super quick because I already went through this in a separate video. You can check it out on my channel. Problems, for example, sellers in the area, they have confusion in the market. I'm not sure where to spend money on upgrades or repairs. How do I choose a realtor? Am I leaving money on the table? I want to speak to people's problems. And then you want to offer solutions. For example, free home evaluation, ebooks, guides, video training, webinar, consultations. You get the idea. And then lastly, have a right call to action to make sure that people are reminded to put in their details to become a lead in your pipeline and to become a hot commodity contact. Last but not least, build a bulletproof qualification and conversion system. So there's a few different nuances with this one, a couple of components. First one, basically building on a funnel and a landing page. With running YouTube ads, they're not like Facebook where you can just have an automatically populated lead form, which is very low friction, leads to honestly a lot of tire kickers and makes it difficult to weed out and only book appointments with people who are very serious. YouTube requires a landing page, which is a huge benefit because it creates more friction and therefore better quality opportunities and sellers in the pipeline. For building it, we use AI tools like Claude, Lovable to create fast loading and good looking landing pages Which, by the way, nuance on it. Just an example of some of our landing pages that we produce here. Like there's kind of a trend, you could say, or there was a movement where landing pages were very function over form, I should say, where the big bold text, the black backgrounds, the red, white, this and that. Those work, don't get me wrong, but the way that we're seeing and the way that we've analyzed our markets and data is that most marketers, agencies, brokerages, teams, top agents, they all are using the same kind of, if you're familiar with ClickFunnels, the same generic themes, the same very big bold text, super hard salesy assets. I believe we're actually moving into a world and a marketing scene where form is actually becoming way more important over function, meaning that the way things look, the way things are intuitive, fast loading, smooth, congruent, that's one of our key principles. Congruency, right, across the messaging. Like the hook in your YouTube ads, for example, in the video, so again, this is the 5-10 second intro, should sync well with the headline on the landing page. And again, you can ask AI how to do this, but again, we're keeping it all in sync. And really, again, just keep it simple and functional, look clean, use AI tools to do all the work, and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna really create a great producing landing page. Now, once you build out the landing page, it's really important that you understand that you could have picked the right market, you could run the best ads, you could have the highest converting landing pages, you can have everything in sync, but if you don't have the proper systems to reliably take a lead and turn it into a listing appointment and a listing sign, there is absolutely no point in running a paid marketing campaign. This is the step that most Facebook marketers and gurus won't tell you about because, to their eyes, it's just a numbers game, right? You bring in 100 or 200 leads every single month. One of them or two of them might convert, right? Again, it's just that leads to cold calling and just no real conversion tracking. Everything's just a mess. The database is full of people who are complete tire kickers. YouTube homeowners are gold because they're coming in again super hot. They've already made a decision that they want to sell a home. They're actively searching for things and they're coming in seeing a video from you. And so they're actually investing a lot of time and energy. But again, it all goes to waste without the right systems. Because with the right systems, with the right speed to lead, follow-up systems, proper sales processes, building rapport, you can turn 15 to 25+% of leads into great quality appointments that we've seen and we've actually booked in for our partners. Because remember, you could have a golden lead come through. They were urgently looking to sell yesterday, right? But they could slip through the cracks due to poor follow-up, improper speed to lead, or broken report. Now, this is exactly why everything we do is fully end-to-end. We run the ads, we build the funnels, we do all the targeting, split testing, management of the campaign, but we also make sure that we're going in and calling and contacting every single homeowner to get them booked in for appointments for our teams and brokers' calendars and their corresponding agents. Because that's the importance of having it, and it's really a requirement today to really succeed and thrive and grow with online marketing, and more generally, specifically, to build the sphere outside the sphere. So if you are a team brokerage looking to scale, looking to bring on more appointments for you and your agents, click the first link in the description, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.